So 1 minute to go before we start. So, very welcome to our first episode of our Modern Endpoint Management AMA session. And I'm really excited to have you all here at this first episode. And we have a full power from Microsoft, from our OCs to answer all your questions. In the end, this session is your session. You have all the freedom to ask your questions in the chat. And we try to answer all the questions you ask to us. And also many thanks to the one who submitted the question in advance. Everyone who submitted a question in this session has also the chance in the end to win a ticket for our Modern Endpoint Management Summit in April in Paris. And with this, Niklas, I want to hand over to you, let you introduce our audience today.
Yeah, also very welcome from my side. It's such a great event here, and I'm really looking forward to it. We have really good speakers for now. The folks from Microsoft joined already. Thanks for that. So we've got Ken, we've got Harit, we've got Max. We missed Jason for now, but it's also Martin Luther King Day, so we'll see. And then we've got our great official contributors and also MVPs, Rudy, Florian, Joost, and Andrew. So what a nice audience and group here gathered all to answer your questions. So right, let's get started. We prepared your questions that you could ask, and you can also now ask live the questions in the chat of the LinkedIn stream, and we will add it here to the slides. So I definitely use that opportunity. Now we've always prepared like the question and also the offer, and we try to target it to the right person in our audience, in our experts group, to have it answered. So with that said, let's get started with the first one. Yannick, you can take this one.
Yeah, sure. The first question is from Gavin. Is there a possibility Windows Auto Patch could be included in education licenses? As a university, we would really like to use this.
We heard that
Shared
question many
Max.
times. Yeah.
Can-
We have heard that question many times. Now, I think that is something that is definitely being evaluated, but I don't have an answer right now whether or not we will add it. Also considering the unification work that we announced at Ignite, so there might be some change, but I don't know yet.
Yeah, I have to side with Ken here. We are looking into it. I mean, it's being evaluated. It's we've heard you. We've seen it being asked by education customers. I myself was a education IT pro for many years. So yeah,
It will be definitely valuable for those customers as well, obviously.
yeah.
But that decision is not in our power.
Who do we need to convince, Ken?
Who is it? I'll let you know.
It's all about the names, knowing the right names.
Harriet?
No.
All right, yeah. Then thanks for asking the first one. Let's continue with the second. And here we've got another Windows Update related question. And this time it's about what's the difference between Windows Update for Business and AutoPatch. I think Neil speaks here for a lot of us. So they're currently using Windows Update for Business, just the usual update rings, I assume. And what are the benefits for Windows AutoPatch? What is also maybe the motivation to go with that and not create custom update rings?
Customers often ask us this question. They often ask us, what is the difference between Windows AutoPatch and Windows Update for Business? Now, Windows AutoPatch uses Windows Update for Business to manage updates on your behalf. And because obviously we specialize in updates and we do so many, you get the benefits of our learnings as we encounter and resolve issues, often before they reach your estate. Now, the difference is more in who puts in the effort, where in Windows AutoPatch, it's service-led, so groups are being created by the service, policies are being created by the service, etc. Whether with Windows Update for Business, you are in control. So you are really the guy that needs to create the groups, that need to create the policies, need to do the assignments and stuff like that. So that is the biggest difference. And that is also why at Ignite, I repeat myself a little bit, but why we announced the unification of Windows AutoPatch and Windows Update for Business. So everything is going to become Windows AutoPatch soon, probably 6 months to a year from now. But yeah, that's the reason. There is not really a difference. It's just in who puts in the effort, mainly.
Okay.
What about the updates of the other products? What's being done in AutoPatch and not in Windows Update for Business? Like Edge, Teams, Office.
Well, Edge and Teams are tricky ones, right? Because obviously Edge has their own integrated update mechanism, as well as Teams has. The only thing that we do is we set policies. So for Edge, for example, we have the canary on the test ring, and then current branches on the normal rings. Teams, similar actually, they have their own control plane built in into Teams. We do work with the product teams to see how we can get more signals into Windows AutoPatch, but again, that is an ongoing discussion, just not really relevant right now.
Okay, thanks. Maybe Florian, I want to point to you because I know you have a lot of experience from the field. How do you see the customers? Do they even know Windows AutoPatch, or is Windows Update for Business still the thing and everyone talks about rings and so on?
Yeah, it really depends on the customer, but mostly it's hard to even convince them to go full cloud to ditch their VSU server. But as soon as you got that first step, you will be able to show them the benefits of firstly Windows Update for Business and hopefully in a second step the AutoPatch service.
All right, yeah. Andrew, what about the US?
Yeah, I recommend Autopatch to my customers, but again, it's largely licensing. We tend to go for the smaller ones, so they've normally got business premium and they're not licensed for it, so they end up with the update rings.
All right. Okay. Any more addition here? Great. Then yeah, Yannick, next one is for you.
Yes, the next question is from Tom, and he asked a really interesting question. I'm curious about your answer. To each of you, what area of Intune do you have the least amount of knowledge in, and how do you plan to bridge that knowledge gap? Maybe Joost, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think that's more the reportings, the log analytics part of the Intune. That is my biggest goal this year, to get more attention to.
Okay, good. Who wants to add here something? Flo, Andrew, Rudi, but also
Yeah,
the
I can
Microsoft
add
folks.
my part. For my part, is definitely the whole thing with macOS management, especially the app packaging there. So that is something I would love to dig deeper, but also the Windows stuff will keep you up, and you have to be up to date there as well. And there's a lot of stuff coming, so probably I will focus more on the new features from the Intune suite there. But macOS would be definitely something where I could put some effort in.
Okay, Rudi, Andrew.
I'm the same as you. It's reporting and log analytics and learning KQL is my plan for this year. That's definitely my weaker area.
Yeah, playing around with KQL, that sounds really nice, and that's indeed something I want to learn more about, because there are things coming that you will need to learn KQL for it. So yeah, I need to know it.
Okay, but now I'm also curious what the Microsoft folks said. Maybe we start here with Max. What are the areas where you say you have least amount of knowledge in?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the call out. I think for me personally, there's a lot of recent new improvements for Apple, iOS, DP, ABM, that sort of like JIT, so just in time features. We've made a lot of improvements in the area, and so there's a new user experience as well as like an admin experience. So I think that's what I'm most excited about in terms of almost learning something new, because I know personally I'm more of a Windows, Mac OS, and like Android guy. So gleaning and leaning more into the Apple side of things, we call it the year of Mac and the year of Apple. And so we've made a lot of great improvements. And so if you haven't been caught up, of course, like definitely check out our Intune What's New. And then if you're not familiar, our Microsoft Intune blog as well. I don't know if we can throw in links, but aka.ms/Intune WN2312. And that's our latest and greatest of service releases that came in December. And then we also talk about a lot of the Apple Mac OS stuff, including Intune Suite. I know a couple of folks kind of mentioned that already, but a lot of great things last year as well as stuff coming this year.
Nice. Sounds good, Max. Thank you. Then Hashid, what is your area?
Well, it's a pretty interesting question. I guess it depends on our roles that we do at Microsoft, right? So I'm focused on the Windows side. But if you're really like, again, I have to tap in with Max here. So areas that I kind of like, I'm not super familiar with when it comes to Intune would be around the areas of Mac OS and iOS and those general areas, because I tend to focus on the Windows side.
Okay, thank you. And then we have also Ken. What is your area?
I kind of agree with the people here about the Custo query language, the KQL. That's definitely something that can be very useful when you use log analytics, for example, to dig a little deeper into the log files. I haven't got the time yet to dive really into it because of what Harriet also explains. We are bound to roles, obviously, and every year things change, focus is changing. So we always need to adapt on those new technologies or new areas that we get. But Kusto Query is definitely on top of the list, as well as doing something more with Azure Web Apps, but that is more from a personal note. Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Then it sounds for me really we need more content in the area of KQL and also more blogs about Mac management that we can fill here the gaps we have. Good. Then back to you, Niklas.
Yeah, thanks, Yannick. So this question is specifically for you, Rudy. Andreas says, thanks for your useful blogs. I agree with that statement. And he followed the one blog post like Wonka and the Drive Ledger Factory. Unfortunately, the upload of the ADMX file kept stuck in upload and finally it failed. I used the file from the blog. Did you experience or can you help Andreas with that, Rudy?
I can help that for sure, but I'm not sure which error he exactly got. But the last time that I used it, colleagues of mine imported, and they didn't report any failures to me. So I'm assuming it still works. But if someone can note down his name, I can take a look at it. And if I am noticing the same this afternoon after I upload it, I can reach out to him to find a solution for it.
Yeah, I'm sure Andreas would be glad.
I haven't seen it. But I know that there were some improvements later on of this week or month with the max of amount of ADMX files you can import. So maybe there was a change or something like that. But I need to check it to make sure I'm not telling beep.
Mm-hmm. All right. So maybe to the folks at Microsoft, we had that announcement that there was a limit there's now a limit for ADMX files uploading in Intune. Can you maybe explain a little bit around that, or do you also plan, like, I know dependencies was always a big thing, so you needed to import like several other ADMX templates before you could configure some certain types of values? Anyone want to take that?
Sounds like one for me, but and I wish my colleague Mike Danowski was here because he's our settings guru for all things that. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer right now, but definitely I can take that and we can figure that out for you.
Yeah, sure.
So I think Niklas, Janik, we'll reach out to some folks here on our side and get back to you.
Great. Okay. All right. Yeah, then let's continue. Yannick?
Yes, then let's jump into this question from Jason. Jason asked, what are the best practices for patching software like Visual Studio Code within the next 10 days? How can, to summarize this, how can we force it that the software is patched within a time frame of 10 days?
Yeah, good question.
Silence. Doesn't have Visual Studio Code also his own update type of thing built in? There's like two versions. If you run it as an standard user, it will not do automatically updates. If you run it or install it as an admin, it will do automatic updates. I'm not very familiar with it, but I thought I've seen something in that area. I don't know. Maybe somebody knows a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's more that I think this is one question, Visual Studio, but it's more the patching software and that kind of stuff. But the worst answer you can get is it depends. Because with which kind of software do you install the software? Do you do it with the company portal? Maybe you can do something with remediation scripts. If you have the right licensing, you can do a lot of things, but it depends which software it is, with what you're going to do with, how many people you have to update. So there are more questions than answers, I think.
Good. Then many thanks for answering this question. Then back to you, Niklas.
Okay, so how can Intune assist in ensuring a secure and compliant endpoint environment? What are some best practices for configuring device compliance policies in Intune? Maybe Florian, you want to take off with that question?
Yeah, best practice is always a difficult word when you go for compliance settings. But what I always do as a baseline is, of course, that the endpoint needs to be encrypted with BitLocker, that there needs to be an active antivirus, preferably Defender for Endpoint. Then you can also evaluate the risk level. And another point to consider is secure boot, especially if all devices are more or less new, then I would definitely go with that. And for auto security features or settings, there's a ton of things you can do. One thing is to use the security baseline. Another thing is to have a look at the CIS recommendations. There is no direct import for that, but they have a really good guideline, which most times I use to set the baseline. Of course, for every organization, you need to look at each setting and have to check if it makes sense to implement it. Some of them are very strict and others can be implemented without a lot of troubles.
And Florian, the compliance policies you configure, do you configure them in one policy or are you going to create separate policies for each subset? So a separate policy for the device health attestation, a separate policy for the antivirus, that kind of stuff? Or
depends on the complexity of the environment, I would say. If you can go easy, go easy. If you need to go more complex, separate them.
What is Microsoft's recommendation in terms of compliance policy and all the things? Because I hear a lot of customers. In fact, I was just recently in an engagement and a customer told me after they go through autopilot, the device is always not compliant and they reboot it like 5 times and so. And I was a little surprised by the statement. And of course, it's of the parts of device health attestation, so secure boot and all the good things. Has Microsoft anything to add here?
I'm looking at my colleagues, but I can chime in here. At least from the Microsoft Intune standpoint and perspective, we want you're in control of your environment, tenant, devices, and so depending on your organizational's needs and goals, it's up to you and your security team or IT team to come up with a baseline and what works best for you. To add on to some of our fellow esteemed MVPs, definitely piling on some security baselines. We have lots of great information in our docs and blogs as well. And so if you don't know where to look, where to go, just start at the base level, like get started with Microsoft Intune and kind of work your way down. Should you have any further questions, issues, we're all here in the community. So if you're definitely stuck on something, definitely ask for help as well. So really come up with a goal, come up with a game plan, and then kind of work back from there. Don't go out level 300. I'm going to do BitLocker today. Probably not going to make the most sense. You're going to, like to Nicholas's point, like I'm getting stuck with autopilot compliance and I don't know where to go look, but at the fundamentals, if you're missing some of the prerequisites, like if a device doesn't have TPM 2.1 or whatever the case, or it's not updated with the latest BIOS, so of course you're going to get stuck with those roadblocks. And so really kind of up to you, come up with a game plan, work back, work with your colleagues as well. We're all in this together. You're not alone, so definitely ask for help should you need it.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah. Maybe some more words about the secure endpoint environment. Maybe Andrew, you want to add anything about baselines or security products that you love in combination with Intune?
Yeah, I'd say don't go straight with the baselines. Personally, work from your security blade from there. So your BitLocker, your firewall, attack surface reduction, and then maybe add a baseline to fill the gaps. Certainly for some of your traditional IE settings, some of your on-prem stuff, if you still got that, use your baselines there. The edge baselines are are good, but a little bit out of date as well. So again, config profiles for that. There is an open Intune baseline on GitHub, I think, which would be a good starting point rather than jumping straight in with the built-in baselines.
All right, then yeah, thanks for the expert knowledge. Anything more to add?
Maybe Microsoft wants to add something about the new Microsoft Azure Attestation Service they implemented to improve the experience with the health attestation parts.
Nothing top of mind at the moment.
Same.
And no Microsoft Azure Attestation Specialist in the call, I assume.
We can follow up offline.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Before you guys jump to the next one, if you go back to the Visual Studio Code question, I see in
link.
chat here, there's Mohammed has mentioned something about dev blogs. He posted a link there, and then there's Sheikh Albert's, saying, isn't Visual Studio Code auto updated from Microsoft Store installation? Maybe remove the Win32 app and do it that way. And I believe Ken has a tip for WinGet.
Yeah, there is a WinGet upgrade command where you specify the Microsoft.Visual Studio Code ID, and that should also do the upgrade.
Great.
Okay. Perfect. Then we get also this question answered. Thanks you for making the research in between. Then we can jump in the next question. Again, auto-patch question. We got a lot of auto-patch questions. And the question is it possible to use auto-patch when we have an infra in hybrid?
Absolutely, it is possible. So co-management is an important scenario. You just need to have the three necessary workloads shift to either Intune Pilot or to Intune. And that is device configuration, Windows updates, and Office Click to Run, as those are the three important things that the service take over. So be very cautious if you do that. If you move sliders, that you don't target all your SCCM managed devices. So yeah, I recommend you to create specific collections for AutoPatch and then assign those to the workloads that are needed for AutoPatch. But yes, it's possible to do.
Thank you.
Also saw another question in the chat on AutoPatch, like the minimum version of OSs. So the minimum version of an operating system to be joined to or registered into Windows AutoPatch is 1809. So for you, the 1709 is not going to work with Windows AutoPatch. 1809 is the minimum to be registered. And then within 5 days, you should see that it gets up to 21H1, I believe it is. As the service makes sure that the devices being joined or registered to the service, that they are being brought up to date and in a supported build of Windows.
Perfect. Thank you to also grab a question from the chat, and then we can jump to the next question, Niklas.
Okay, so is there a way to get a Win32 app to run in multi-app kiosk mode and have a content filter Edge browser? Like a kiosk requirement, I assume, and also Windows 11 has now the multi-app kiosk, if I'm not mistaken. Did anyone already had hands on that? Okay, maybe some general kiosk advice.
I think we have to do something else but log analytics, right? Multi-app kiosk mode is going to be the next one, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have an answer for this one.
Okay. Anyone else about kiosk mode or your experiences with it? Because I had some kiosk modes, but most of the time just going through for the single app kiosk mode and then putting Edge on it and of course, doing some content filtering with it, and that was most of the time enough for a requirement. For the requirement, yeah. Otherwise, we proceed with the next question.
I guess I'm
It's a
thinking
good
more
one,
about
so
this
I think-
scenario. You definitely got to stop. I guess some tips that come top of mind would be to just first validate your Windows 32 app. Just make sure it's configured correctly, you can deploy it and that sort of thing. If the app isn't deploying or targeted to the correct group, of course, you're going to have a bad time. So definitely test it first. I know some of the issues that we see with customers that come in via support cases or escalations is how they configure the app, how they bundle the app, how they have some of the installation requirements or like the reporting back to the app to say that it's installed isn't just as expected. So definitely double check to make sure you're deploying it first. As you package it, just see if you can manually run it too. I know that's some things that we can that we often see and run into. If you're at a good point and state, then definitely try kiosk. From that point, we have lots of information and configurations in our docs. So definitely our Learn docs, so learn.microsoft.com docs for multi-app kiosk. So between those two things, you'll hopefully be in a better, nice spot. And in terms of the Edge content filtering, I guess the things that come top of mind would be just to double check what we have in device restrictions. I know there's some information under multi-app kiosk as well. And should you get stuck, definitely ask for help as well. And so your question doesn't end here. So should you need any further support, questions, answers, I know, feel free to reach out to any of us. I mean, feel free to reach out to me as well at Mani Akalani, or like reach out to our team. We're also out on Twitter as well, so at Intune Support Team. So if you're stuck, let us know.
Appreciate it, Max. Thanks a lot.
Great. Good. Then we jump to the next question. Again, a question about AutoPatch. And the question is it possible to give dedicated permissions to a team that they can view the AutoPatch reports? The Modern Workplace role service reader doesn't allow to view this AutoPatch report.
Mm-hmm. We hear that a lot from customers as well, so that's definitely something that we have in the backlog. I need to look into the backlog to see what the current state there is. I don't expect anything soon, again, due to the unification work that is ongoing and that is highly prioritized right now. Probably unification could solve this, probably, because we will be more aligned with Intune, and in Intune you have those report reader roles, right? So that could probably solve this mystery.
Good. Then thank you for the answer, Ken. And then Niklas, you can jump to the next question.
Okay. Oh, another for Windows updates, huh? Is there a way to find how many users are using Windows Hello? Oh no, it's Windows Hello, sorry. Using Windows Hello and Windows Hello for Business. We want everyone to move, guys, from Windows Hello to Windows Hello for Business. As we know...
Hi, Imran. He's a customer of mine. Hello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't... It's hard to tell, right? I'll get back to you on that offline. I need to talk to a couple people, whether that is visible or not. I'm not quite sure.
I think generally Windows Hello for Business is the way to go. How does the field sees that? So Rudy or Joost, you want to say anything about, is there even like a really modern workplace project without Windows Hello for Business?
I don't have an answer for this one.
You can read the TPM, right, with PowerShell, but I'm not sure if you will be able to differentiate the difference between Hello and Hello for Business. That is not clear. So we'll need to check.
Is Windows Hello even on the TPM? I think that's only in the credential safe locally on the device.
Very good point. Yeah, indeed.
So the
So
Windows
maybe
Hello for
different-
Business part, you would be able to read out from Entra ID, because there you see those as multi-factor authentication login methods. But for the Windows Hello part, the on-premise part, I would say there's no way to read that centrally, maybe with a script.
Okay, time to write a blog post, Florian. Let's go. Okay, so with that said, Yannick, I'm giving back to you.
Yes, now we have a question about driver updating. If there's a way to dynamically managing driver via Intune for autopilot paths, like consolidate set of driver for a specific model, which should get packaged automatically in Intune and can be editable, similar for other models. Did someone had here experience out of the field? How do you handle such situation at your customers? Joost, Trudy, Andrew, Florian.
I would probably use Dell Command Update for something like this. Let that handle the updates for all of your different models. Push up one app and it will pick up the drivers for that model and update it for you.
Trudy, can you confirm?
Yeah, it depends on the model. It depends on the hardware. And based on the hardware you have, you can create a plan to deploy, just like the Dell tool or HP as also those kind of tools. So it depends on the hardware. So again, it depends. Answer.
Okay, did someone had something to add here, or can you confirm with his answer? Microsoft folks. Okay, good.
If I see the question correctly, isn't this the possibility to use the driver updates from Windows Update?
Yeah, that's definitely a good
Yeah,
starting
drivers
point.
and firmware.
Always. Yeah.
Because it's in there as well, and Autopatch is doing this also. So I think those two may be the good ones as well.
Yeah, maybe the question is more about doing it during autopilot, then probably driver update
Yeah.
wouldn't do the trick, but I also wouldn't recommend to install firmware drivers during autopilot because that will cause a reboot. So, yeah.
But I read it more like in MDT or in SCCM, you could have WMI queries in a task sequence that query for a model and then send a specific package of updates. I thought it was more in that sense, and obviously that is not possible. But yeah.
Okay, good. Then Niklas, you can jump to the next question.
Yeah. Okay, any plans to add email alerts? Example, admin can get an alert if BitLocker fails to encrypt the disk. So any plans about alerting in Intune? Some of the Microsoft folks here?
I guess I can chime in here. I know we really love customer feedback, and especially stuff like this where we hear a lot about it, and especially scenarios such as these. As far as I know, nothing on the immediate roadmap, but I know we always take customer feedback in, evaluate it, and then up for consideration. I was also kind of responding to this one in the LinkedIn comments as well, to drop a link. But all our feedback is built on you, and our community, and so your voice doesn't get not heard. So we do have a feedback portal where you can submit product ideas and suggestions to help improve the product. I'll drop a link in there where someone also had similar feedback as well. So feel free to add your scenario, comment, vote, and that way we can get it up to the appropriate feature team in Intune for consideration.
Great. I mean, from Windows 365, I mean, there are tenant alert templates. So for example, if you reach your license amount in terms of frontline or so, and then you get an alert. So that might be a good addition also for other things in Intune. Maybe Harry, do you have anything to add here or some use cases or customer feedback you heard about that?
No, this is the first time I've heard about this, but it's a good question though, and seems like a good ask for us to investigate.
Great. All right. Then yeah, let's continue.
So the next question is, for Intune, can we restrict it should not update all Microsoft OS related updates like .NET restrictions? Do someone had experience to restrict this?
I need to check, but can't you just turn off that switch in the update profile that you do not want other Microsoft products to be targeted? Need to check, but I think there is a way, no?
Yeah, I think too. Yeah. Look, the question is, why would you do this? Like, what's the reason?
Okay, yeah, I can understand what the reason is, but if the newer .NET version of a software application doesn't run with the newer one, so I can understand, and you want to test it first. Yeah, but use rings, update rings for everything.
Yeah.
And Ken, isn't it the question mark what you can set to not update Microsoft updates in Windows Update? Isn't that the one who's doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you think it out in your first ring, second ring, keep on testing before running it for the full production environment.
That's a good hint. Good. Thank you for your answers. Then jump to the next question.
Can we go back the question from the compliance part, because isn't it
yeah,
possible-
sure, Rudy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just if you have anything to add, please go for
Yeah,
it.
because the question was to encrypt the device with BitLocker to get an alert when they are not encrypted. But if you configure a compliance policy only for the BitLocker part, and you set an alert for it, so when the device isn't compliant, you get an alert that it isn't compliant, and it's compliant, the device isn't encrypted, right? Or did I get the question wrong?
I think that's a good
Yeah.
hint. It's maybe
This
more
is a
about
good
like,
hint.
yeah. I mean, from compliance policies, you can also give alerts to the users directly. Question is as always, can the user really do anything in that situation except calling IT support? But yeah, I think in general, the whole alerting experience in Intune definitely has some room for improvements.
And I know there were some improvements with the compliance alert policy, so
Okay, thanks for adding this, Rudy. Now the next question, I'm really excited about that. When are we expecting the macOS platform SSO to go GA? And Isaac also asked, how are we planning to register devices with platform SSO for already Intune enrolled devices? Now we need someone from Intune Mac team, huh?
I think I can answer this. I saw in chat someone pasted a aka.ms link, so thank you in advance for that. So first and foremost, if you're a Mac user, if you're a Mac admin, a part of the Mac admin or Mac admins community, we do have a Microsoft space where you can join the rest of your Mac colleagues for all things Apple and Mac. So that is aka.ms/macadmins. That's a, what is it now? It used to be Yammer, but Viva Engage. So you can join your fellow IT pros and admins for all things Mac. I mentioned that, and this person had mentioned it as well, because there's platform SSO in there. We're currently having a private preview for that. So we're getting folks' feedback. I'm not quite sure where we are, if we're still accepting folks or not. But definitely there's some information in there about general availability and stuff like that. I know based on the private preview feedback, all your feedback and reports are not going unnoticed. So thank you in advance to those that are using it thus far. But I believe we do have some news later this year is when we'll actually go GA. So no no dates or timelines to share just yet. It's coming. But should you want to get all the latest and greatest news for macOS stuff, feel free to join that community.
Thanks, Max. Just out of curiosity, has anyone else performed some Mac management in Intune yet?
Way too less.
Way too less.
Way too less. That's a good
So
answer, Joost.
this year is the Mac management year, huh?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Anyone else wants to add something about Mac or Platform SSO? If not, we continue. Yannick, this one is for you.
Yes, the next question is, what is the best scenario to automate the deletion of devices in AD? I think it's mentioned AAD, when reprovisioning the same through autopilot in a hybrid environment. Okay, hybrid, then maybe AD was correct. Andrew, do you have an idea? Can you answer this question?
I think the autopilot nuke script will delete it from on-prem AD as well as AAD and Entra. I've not tried it myself, but I'm fairly sure that one does it.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Did someone else had experience with this? Tried something out like the script from Andrew? Can you add something? I saw you have a link also to the script. It's in a PowerShell gallery,
Yeah, well,
right?
it's on the PowerShell. That was the autopilot nuke that Andrew was talking about. Yeah, it can be downloaded from the PowerShell gallery.
Great, thank you.
Then I come across a blog post just recently. Probably Nicholas, didn't you write one? Something about
Yes, you're right, Art. Yeah. Didn't want to get myself into such a highlight, but thanks you did. Yeah, I wrote the scripts to clean up autopilot identities because the issue is always like life cycle. Most of the time is quite a topic at customers, but it's a little bit hard to find out which autopilot identities are not in use anymore because there are lots of reasons why the autopilot identity could be stale. For example, it just went end of life, the hardware, and the corp was selling or destroying it. Of course, also when a device gets stolen or sold to a personal employee. So there are good reasons why these identities shouldn't be anymore in your tenant. And for that, I wrote a script where you can find out devices who didn't contact the autopilot service anymore in a certain period of time. And that's in fact quite a good way to clean up the whole autopilot identity house and doing the housekeeping. And one other nice thing is also there's always a hard link between the Entra device object and autopilot device object, so you can't delete devices in Entra that are effectively coming through autopilot. And with that, you can also clean up autopilot and Entra devices. So if one gets deleted, of course, the autopilot here in this way, the other one will lose or will get deleted too. Yeah. So I can leave the link to that tool in the chat.
And then quickly here, Mark Verma actually is talking about the Mac admins link. Looks like Max spoke too fast. So it's aka.ms/macadmins.
Thanks for the addition. Yeah. Good. Then yeah, Yannick, back to you.
Yes, then let's follow up with the next question. Are there any plans to enhance Intune to the level of OS and application performance metrics provided by Systrack? Yeah, are there any plans to get more signals, to get more data, to also analyze the performance of devices more in depth? Did someone had an answer for this if something is in the roadmap of Intune?
That's a great one. I'm not super familiar with Systrack. But generally speaking, from like a reporting and analytics perspective, I know we've definitely made some improvements over the past few years. I don't know if anyone remembers like Silverlight reporting or even like the donuts, right? Everyone loves donuts, but in which case, probably not in reporting. If you have any general feedback on just, hey, we want Intune to do this, or like, we really love this analytics platform, I wish you would have some sort of integration, definitely submit that as feedback. I know I mentioned feedback before, but aka.ms/Intune feedback is where you can submit your product ideas and feedback and that sort of thing. Of course, if you're in console as well, if you're logged into intune.microsoft.com, and if you see a blade or an area where it's like, hey, I wish this could do X, or I see an issue here, take a look at your top right. There's like a feedback bubble or like a chat bubble. Click that button, and for whatever blade that you're in, you can submit feedback. So for stuff like this, where it's like, I wish X, feel free to submit it there, and then we can get it over to the appropriate team. And then our product teams for the given areas, they see that, and so whatever blade that you're in, that goes directly to our feature teams. So for this one, I'm not quite sure. I don't think we have anything on the immediate roadmap, but that doesn't mean that we will. So definitely submit it, let your voice be heard, and then we'll help you out.
Yeah, maybe also a hint from my side. Also, Intune has endpoint analytics on board. This means you can also find metrics about boot performance of the devices. You can also see application crashes for sure. It's not an in-depth monitoring as a lot of customers want to have it, but in the end, you also have some metrics already available in Intune, also with a nice anomaly detection that you get aware when you have changes here.
Awesome. And to pile on to that, I see something in chat from Ken as well. Some other possible alternatives is to definitely use our Microsoft Graph Intune API as well. And so that's a little bit more hands-on approach, but you can do some stuff with the Graph API and Power BI to create not only your own reports, but split that out into whatever reporting system that you have as well. So you can definitely take and leverage what we currently have from the Graph stuff and create your own reporting should you need to.
Very cool.
And not only reporting, you can use Graph API. Like Stefan van Rooij asked a question in chat, can you import and export Intune policies and configurations? And I think Yannick has an amazing blog actually about mass exporting Intune stuff with the Graph API. Maybe Yannick, your moment of glory.
Yes, I wrote a blog about the report API from Graph. This API is not known for many of the parties, but it's really amazing what you can do with this. In a normal API, you have to go from page to page, and you have to make it in sync. And with this export API, you have a good possibility that you start a trigger the report creation, and then after a specific time, you get a download link. And with this, you have a good possibility to export objects, devices, applications from your tenant. But for sure, you can also use for single imports and exports the standard Graph API. I think it works also really good to export all objects. What you can also add manually via the Intune portal.
So Graph is definitely a great tool for all of us, no matter what we need to do in Intune.
Yes, especially for us that we can write blogs and solution on top of this, because gave you unlimited possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Let's make one last question, and then we're already over with time. Here we go. Can you import and export Intune policies and configurations through Graph API? Yes, we already heard that. It's possible through also settings catalog natively in Intune portal. Maybe to expand the question a little bit, how are you guys using Graph API? Do you have any special use case or wrote some custom solutions on it? Question for a round.
more or less everything you want to automate, you will do based on the Graph API if it's something in Intune, because Intune is more or less totally based on the Graph API. And there's also, if you want to start automating stuff, there's a great tool. It's called Graph X-Ray, which you can call in your browser as an add-on, and then you will see what is the actual graph call behind what was called, and also what is the PowerShell equivalent to that call. So that makes it very easy to start with automating stuff. That can be an export, can be a rename, an assignment, or whatever you want to do in your Intune environment.
Yep, I agree with that. Andrew, you have amazing tools also leveraging Graph. Want to talk about it?
Yeah, I've got for backup and restore. I've got the Intune backup site, and there's also another script to copy between tenants. There's also an Intune management UI tool, which is useful for backing up and restoring. But yeah, Graph knowledge of that for automation is critical for managing Intune daily.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that addition. Anyone else want to talk about Graph? Some final words about it?
Slow
Come
to
on,
come off
Ruud.
mute, but I know for the Microsoft Intune Graph API policies, there are two considerations to really consider. There's both the beta stuff as well as the V1 versions. So should you be using either or, we often have tenant level communications that go out, whether to shift to the new reporting APIs or we're sunsetting some. So I know I just call that out as we just recently had a blog post where if you're in such scenario, of course, as I mentioned, we have tenant level communication. So definitely check your message center for the latest and greatest news for all things Intune. As well as our blog posts as well. And so I only mention this as like, if you're using an Intune Graph API today, we do make some improvements for performance or analytics or whatever the case. So definitely check out for those announcements. In addition to that, we do have some PowerShell scripts that are available. So if you just do like a quick Bing search for Microsoft Intune Graph API PowerShell scripts, I think it's like the first result for GitHub. You'll see one by, I think, the Microsoft Intune team or Microsoft Graph. It's made by our esteemed colleague, David Falkus. And we have some other folks across Microsoft that contributes to such scripts and blog or scripts and PowerShell scripts. So there's a whole plethora of different scenarios that folks can use. And so I know this one is more specifically import export. We do have some stuff there as well. So if you're looking for like a Microsoft supported scripts, those are available. Sorry, and then anyone else.
Very good to know. Yeah, thanks, Max. Thanks. Okay, so that's already it. You made a great job, guys. So thanks for being in this expert round. We really appreciate it that we had like a combination of Microsoft and official contributors, MVPs. But in the end, it's all community, and that's also what I personally love about it. It's really cool to have people from around the globe connected through Intune. And I just was amazed also by the expert level, and also that we had such a nice participation in the chat, and that's really amazing. Now there's one thing, because we want to do something for community, and with the AMA session, we are now going to give away one ticket for the Endpoint Management Summit, which takes place this year in April in Paris. And there you can also meet hopefully a lot of these folks from this round. And we're now going to start a raffle, which Yannick prepared. And just in terms of the terms and legal, everything is found in the LinkedIn details pane of the event if you need to know anything. So with that said, Yannick, you're the lucky guy to spin the wheel.
I have the honor to spin the wheel. I put all the names in who submit question in advance via these forms. Also, many thanks to everyone who participate via chat, who also comment questions in the chat. And also, again, from my side, many thanks to all who participate. I think every one of you did a really great job to answer all the questions from the community. And we was not able to answer all the questions in this session, but we will definitely also follow up. But with these words, I will start the reel, and fingers crossed to you. Let's see who wants the ticket. It's Dennis. Yeah, you won the ticket. We will reach out to you after this session. You will get a message from us, and then yeah, we are happy to meet you then in Paris at our MEMS Summit. Good. With this, I will only announce one last thing. I think it was a great session today. I think it brings a big advantage for the whole community, and I was really impressed how many people submit questions. Also, many thanks to everyone to participate, to yeah, be here on stage to answer all the questions, and we will follow up. Also, we will follow up with a question we were not able to answer today on the 15th of February. This means next month. Here we will have another session to answer also the remaining or the new questions, or the question from the one who had today on bank holiday, that we can answer as much as possible questions. And with this, I will close the meeting for today, this session, this live stream for today, and will say again, many thanks to all for joining us. And hopefully I see many of you in Paris at our MEMS Summit. With this,
Thank you. Thank you.
See you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.